Hello, GovCon winners, and welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited to talk about this topic. It came from a viewer who reached out via direct message on Twitter. And this person asked, can you kind of break down how, if possible, that you can find the pricing of a previous contract? This is super important. So I'm just going to begin with number one. Anytime there is a source of sought notice, a request for information, a request for a quote, a solicitation, a combined solicitation, you need to ask the following to the point of contact. Based on how they ask, that you ask them. So via email, this is what you do. You write, is there currently an incumbent? And if so, what is their name? What is the contract number? And what is the contract value? Ask that every single time you ask. The only exception is if inside of one of the attachments, it lists. Sometimes they'll do that. Sometimes the federal government will actually say, this contract's incumbent is JD Smith Consulting. The contract value was $525,000. Okay, so then you don't need to ask, right? Because they already gave you the answer. But if you have no idea, you want to ask. So if they respond back and they give you the answer, then what you have to do is start working backwards. You want to look at how many years was that contract for? So if they give you a value of $2 million, which sounds like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, $2 million. Yeah, but was that 1 year? Was it 5 years? Was it 3 years? Was it 2 years and 6 months? You need to know that kind of information. The other thing, and this is super important, this pertains to every single tip I'm about to give you. So you got to come closer, y'all. Regardless of the answer to, is there a contract out there? Is there an incumbent? What is the value? Regardless, the evaluation criteria rule. I'm going to say it again. The evaluation criteria rule. So if the evaluation criteria is lowest cost, okay, you found out the previous award was $500,000, then you're going to need to come around that or lower if you want to win. If the evaluation criteria is all around your technical capabilities, your how, maybe resumes, maybe even certifications, and price is at the bottom. Maybe it's the third item in as far as evaluation goes. I mean, at least you know, okay, the award was $500,000. It gives you some idea, but still to win, it's based on the evaluation criteria. And I hope that's really registering, because while it's great to know the price, the evaluation criteria always rules. So quick example, we were bidding on an exercise physiologist position with the Air Force. I found out the name of the incumbent, and I found the actual pricing information on GovWin. I'm not really covering that today because it's a paid for subscription. And if you want me to cover that, we can. So I went on there and it listed the opportunity. And I believe, oh gosh, I think the contract award was like a little less than $600,000 or something of that sort, maybe $550,000. And so I started to work backward. I was like, okay, so this was awarded 5 years ago. So they had to more than likely put some type of escalation, into their pricing, to cover the increase in costs. It's very common in the federal government that every year, right, prices increase. Got it. So I thought, okay, so that makes sense. I also figured, well, there's probably somebody in this position because the evaluation criteria was lowest cost technically acceptable, and they did not ask for a resume. So I'm like, okay, great. Then I looked up the company and I learned, hey, this is an Alaskan Native company. Their overhead is probably way higher than mine because Alaskan Natives tend to be very just well-established companies, and because of the different rules and regulations, they're able to spin off a lot of 8As. And at this time, this wasn't a competitive 8A opportunity. So I knew that I could go low, like a Flow Rider song, or, like I'm at the club. That wasn't my thing though, to go low at the club. But I'm just saying, for those of you in which it is, or was, maybe just, So I went so low, and I talk about this in another video, that I actually received a letter from contracting and they said, we think you made an error with your pricing. I didn't, because I wanted them to be kind of freaked out. We ended up winning because I knew what we could charge, the profit we could make while still winning. And that's what you have to keep in mind every single time when you're starting to bid on an opportunity. So now let's say you ask the question, is there an incumbent? What is their name? What's the contract number? What is the contract value? And perhaps they don't give you the contract value. Sometimes they'll do this. I once had an agency, it was Army, where they said they cited something and they wouldn't give the information. And I still remember that, because if I would have known that contract value, I would have never been on the opportunity. I thought it was $250,000 or higher, and it ended up, I think their award was maybe $35,000. It just, and I get it. I totally get it. So I'm going to show you some places you can go. Just give me a moment. Okay, one of the places you can go is the Federal Procurement Data System. You can also go to sam.gov. This is my preference. I like this system. I also love the fact that they kind of like knocked off Google. I just find it so fascinating. So what you can do is you can type in a contract number or a name of a company. You can put in a ton of information. But let's say you just had the contract number, that the agency, when you asked them, they just gave you the contract number. So as you go through here, more than likely, this contract number may be attached to several task orders, right? And you could dig deeper if you really want to know, but at least we have some idea that in August of 2019, they had an award of $605,000. And you can go in here and dig a little deeper, and you'll have the contact information for that agency. You'll have just a little other brief information here. And it also just, you can see here, oh my goodness, this is right here. Just, wow. I got to pause for a second, y'all, because this is good. Let me tell you why this is really good. In this description box, they've outlined all of this great information to help you with your bid. As you scroll down, they talk about, here are the funds, and then they break down IT Strategic Capital Planner, 274, Program Admin Specialist, 139, Project Control Specialist, 192. And then it said that this contract will be increased by 605 from 1.3 to 1.9. More than likely, this is maybe one position, maybe one position. That could be one position. I may be wrong. It could be multiple. Usually would have an S if there were more than one, but not always. But it's still giving you an idea that chances are this is not a lowest cost technically acceptable kind of opportunity. And wow, these are some amazing rates that were charged back in 2019 to 2020. So this is great that this information is here. Is this kind of information always here? No. That is why services such as GovWin and GovTribe and others exist. They're paid platforms, not sponsored by them yet, but they're paid platforms that you can go to, that they'll have more information about opportunities. They'll have attachments, they'll have the information for the business. But in the interim, free place to go is the website I just showed you, and you'll also have that information down below. It's a great place to go. You can also go to sam.gov and put in the contract number. Again, I'm just leery of sam.gov as far as looking up archival contract information, but by all means do so. I like to look at multiple places. I'll go on FPDS, I'll go on GovTribe, and I'll go on GovWin, because each offers something a little different. On GovTribe, you may be able to get a free, I don't know, 10, 12, 30-day subscription, who knows? But it's just nice to have that insider information. Now, let's say they come back with, well, this is new work. There is no incumbent. So then you have to really dig deep into the requirement. For example, if the requirement is services and they provide the services attachment that lists the labor categories and the wages, that gives you an idea that, okay, this probably is going to be lowest cost. Got to be mindful because, you know, everyone's trying to reach the same target. So I may not be able to charge $300 an hour for a project manager. It may be more like $54 an hour because it's services. The other place to go and to check out if they don't have any archival information, I'm going to show you this place in just one second. I'm going to share my screen again. And that is by.gsa.gov. And what's great is on this website, you can look up by labor category, vendor name, and contract numbers. So let's try putting that contract number in here and see if it pulls anything up. Okay. I mean, it pulled up some stuff. It isn't really what I want. So are we going to really look up contract numbers on here? No, we're not going to do that. And I'd love for you all to see things in real time because it is a lot of trial and error. Government contracting is not a clean edited, these are the linear steps you take and bam, you're going to retire and live on the beach. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. So I like looking up via labor categories, and what's great is they give you some really popular ones. So let's look up project manager 2. Let's say you're bidding on an opportunity that involves a project manager 2, and you're like, oh, I want to make sure I'm competitive. Okay, how do you do that? You go here, you type in the labor category, bam, average 143, standard deviation, 183, plus 1 is 183, minus 1 is 103. So in other words, when it comes to this category, they're saying that 103 to 183 is kind of what we're seeing here. But at the same time, as you dig into this page a little further, you'll see what was the lowest rate, $60 for an agency, for a company that's on one of the GSA schedules. That's their rate. But it's somebody with a bachelor's degree. So if your position requires a higher degree or additional years of experience, this one says 6, maybe yours is 10, that will help justify a higher rate. But regardless, remember what I said at the beginning, evaluation criteria rule. It rules. Of course, you got to factor in profit and all these other things, but if you're not willing to play the game with the evaluation criteria, then don't bid. Don't bid at all. But this at least provides some intel as far as what people are charging for this. Now, let's say you're in a situation where you're like, okay, I looked on here. You don't have the contract number. Maybe you know of the incumbent. Maybe you just know the incumbent's name, and you're just not really sure. You have no idea where even to begin with pricing, but you have the incumbent's name, okay? Or you know of someone or other companies who may be bidding on the opportunity, okay? So I'm going to show you something else that you can do. Let me share my screen again. Is you go to, it's GSA eLibrary. We'll provide the link. This is my #1 tip for Intel. I always go to this site. I want to know if the incumbent has a schedule or if my competitor has a schedule, because in the schedule, just wait to see what you're going to find out. So you type in their name and you can see that which schedule or schedules the company is on. So you can see that they have a joint venture that's on STARS 3, and they have 2 other companies on the MAS schedule. And then you click this little image here, and it's going to display their actual GSA schedule. So you can see what they're charging For instance, this particular company is charging $63.52 for IT specialists. Just some information that you have there. Let's see their star schedule. I like to look at all of these just to have an idea. Okay, well, I'll show you another example. You can look up this firm. Click the little image, and their schedule comes up. Their point of contact's on there, and you can take a look at their pricing as well as the description for their labor categories, which is additionally so helpful because it allows you to kind of compare your labor categories against theirs. Are there any differences with requirements? Also, if you're like, labor categories, what? This provides opportunity for you to take a look at them and to use this information to kind of craft your labor categories. So definitely amazing information that's out there. Kind of the additional tip in this space, if you want a ballpark idea of maybe what a contract award was, perhaps there's no incumbent, you went to on the link to check out the labor categories, but you're still maybe a little leery, maybe want more intel. The other thing that I've done in the past is I'll go to a site like GovWin and I'll type in like Catholic Youth Coordinator is a really good one. I had no idea what the kind of average contract award was around a religious position. So I went on there and then I learned that many of them would kind of range from 17,000 all the way up to maybe 40, 50,000, depending on if it was a part-time opportunity, the type of opportunity, the duration of the contract, but at least it gave me an idea of what type of contract values this space, this whole new ocean of religious positions would yield, which you may be listening thinking like, oh, that's all. But even if it's a few $1,000s, if your profits are really nice, like 20 to 50%, you're still making amazing revenues. So that's another great tip. All in all, evaluation criteria rules. Use these websites, be curious. Your curiosity is really going to help you out. For those of you where perhaps it's a potential sole source opportunity, or you have a relationship with that agency, so you're talking to them quite intimately, have an idea for you. You just ask them. You can ask them, well, what's your budget? Where are you looking to spend? You can give them examples. Are you looking to spend, the amount of a LeBron James mansion, or are you looking to spend the amount of a 1-bedroom condo on the beach? I don't know. More than likely, they're going to tell you. That's happened time and time and time and time again, where an agency has been open enough to share in as far as their budget. They've been kind enough to do so. So, amazing GovCon winners. Hit that notification button, subscribe, comment below, and don't forget, everything is possible.